Well, happy holidays and New Year to you. From me, Jeff Davis. My gift to you? A visit with a Sonoma Valley family member who loves to share their story with guests while pouring wine amongst the vines. Let's jump into my red wine-colored sled and pay them a visit.
We are still newer to the wine side of things, but our true goal was to show what kind of wines could come from this piece of ground and what kind of wines could come from Sonoma Valley.
She's the ambitious Taylor Serras, one of the fifth generation working at Serras Ranch. I gotta tell you, I'm impressed with the many concerns they operate, including winemaking. Their ranch and sprawling vineyards run alongside Highway 12, just west of the town of Sonoma. Taylor, who has accomplished much over the years, took me on a covered ATV ride through 2 vineyards, where we stopped to taste their wine, which you can do too. I really liked their wine. Their story goes back to 1924, when John P. Serras moved his family from San Francisco to the Sonoma Valley, which translates to the more romantic native name, Valley of the Moon. And over the decades, your family has managed a number of businesses: dairy, cattle, crops, berries, grapes, construction. It's quite a list.
Yes, and we can add cryotherapy to that list as well.
That might not be a personal project, is it?
It is. It is. I opened Sonoma Cryo in November of 2019.
I was going to put that at the end of the interview, but since you're jumping right in with that, yeah, that's quite an interesting aspect that you've added to your life.
Yeah, it's been really fun, really cool, actually, no pun intended. But it's really a wonderful opportunity to be able to bring health and wellness to our community. One, through obviously wholesome products such as our blueberries and our beef, and then of course the wine, but then also helping them with the rehabilitation and overall mind and body wellness.
Yeah. I was going to ask, for a woman who is so busy, why not create a wellness spa?
Why not? Keeps you out of trouble, right?
I imagine you do a lot of good work, not trouble. What inspired your father, after so many years, to plant vineyards here on the property?
So the first grapes were actually planted by Jim Bunchu. He had leased a piece of ground from us and planted wine grapes in 1977. And my dad learned a lot from Jim through the farming aspect, but was also extremely close to Joe Miami, who was an old vineyard manager that used to manage Monte Rosso Vineyard, used to be Carmenet, Moon Mountain, many different names, and I actually just found the original map of that vineyard the other day from Joe. But being that he was so close with Joe Miami, that kind of segued him into farming and what would be a good commodity for the ground that we have here. We planted my father planted the first grapes after Jim had planted the Merlot in the early 80s, and it just kind of has gone from there.
And historically, there were vines in this property long ago.
There were, yes. Fighting Joe Hooker, who originally owned this piece of ground, he had planted wine grapes. I don't know the varietal. I would assume some kind of a Zinfandel type varietal, but those were actually planted in the same area in which we source the fruit from our newly planted vineyard. There's actually a photo of my grandfather on the side of a tractor with Franklin Watrous, the son of George Watrous, who purchased the ground from Joseph Hooker, pulling out Hooker's vines on our website.
Wow. Well, and Hooker planted those at what point in the 1800s?
I don't know the exact date, but mid-1800s. The property.
He had already planted them either at the beginning or before the Civil War, right?
Right, exactly. Before the Civil War, after the Mexican-American War.
And your family has sold grapes to acclaimed wine brands over the years.
Yes, we sell currently this year, 2022 vintage. We sell to Imagery Estate Winery. They have some of their wines. They're Code Blue. They source the Syrah and the blueberries from us, Aliatico Rosé, and as well as St. Francis, Coppola, Constellation with the Prisoner label, and the list goes on.
The Prisoner was so popular, and people who were drinking that were drinking, likely, grapes that came from this property.
That is correct.
I've known something about this part of the valley a warming geothermal activity below the ground that occurs, and that obviously benefits the ranch and the grapes, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Come March, April. Actually, I don't even really know when frost season is because it doesn't occur here. Everyone complains about having to wake up and turn the wind machines on or turn the water on, and I sleep through the night.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
And it adds a certain depth and character to the grapes and wine, too.
It does. It does. We are a good 5 to 10 degrees warmer here than downtown Sonoma. So it allows for just that warmer climate, especially for the big reds, Bordeaux-style wines that we grow.
So when guests taste your estate-grown wines, it truly is a wine that expresses the distinctive quality that only this part of the valley can offer.
Very true, yes.
And you were so kind to pour some of the wines for me, and yeah, there's such a depth of character, and part of that is because your family grows some hardy grape varieties on this ranch.
Yes, we have predominantly Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Malbec, Petit Verdot, Aleatico, Barbera, Tannat, Petit Syrah, and Syrah, I believe, and then Zinfandel, of course.
Yeah, it's like all the big reds are grown right here.
Yes, it definitely works with the personalities of the family.
And you blend a little Tannat in with some of your Bordeaux blends?
We do, yes. That was a little secret that we picked up from John Caldwell over in Napa.
Now, is that a secret that you want to keep a secret, or is it okay if we talk about it?
No, you can talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, Tannat is a very interesting variety. Much like Petit Verdot, it's a tannic grape. So what do you feel it adds to that blend?
It definitely adds depth and character, color. The Tannat grape, from a farming aspect, can be pretty difficult. When the rains came, we were quite nervous just because it is a bigger berry. A lot of inky characteristics to it. So we're excited. We've only harvested Tannat. This is our second year, so we don't have too much experience with it, but definitely excited.
As she should be. I tasted that Cabernet blend during our second vineyard stop among the Cabernet vineyard, and it was so flavorful. But why wouldn't it be? It's full of a great number of luscious varieties. She poured me their 2018 Buchanan Merlot during our first stop, and I really liked that wine too. They are definitely on the right track. Taylor has put her stamp on the family's winemaking business in several ways, which started with the appropriate education. She studied winemaking and viticulture with an emphasis in enology at Cal Poly. But as you know, life can throw you an unexpected detour.
I always had a plan to come back and do winemaking as well as cheese making. I don't really do either, but kind of. I do homemade winemaking just for fun, and then but our winemakers are Tim Milos and Derek Irwin for these bottles, as well as the Bleusé. And
but you have a wine in mind that you want to attain, I imagine.
Of course, absolutely. So we have a lot of impact and input when it comes.
You're a consultant.
You could say that. A consultant that pays the bills.
Right. The most important consultant. But when you returned, I understand it was your mission to get the ranch certified sustainable.
It was. So actually, we have a rule within our family that you have to work for somebody else for 5 years before you can come back to the family business. Yeah. And so I worked for the Sonoma Valley Vintners and Growers Alliance and was extremely involved in putting on the Sonoma Harvest Wine Auction for 5 years, and then went and worked for a private hunting club, and then finally came back to the family business, and that's when we started the wine side of things. But in true Serras style, we had one plan and then we kind of went off the pathway a little bit, but then came back to our main mission.
Yeah. Sonoma County has been such an advocate of sustainability, and now it's like at least 99% of the farming is sustainable, correct? Farming practices? That
is correct, yes. I think the first year that we were certified was 2015. I was integral in that. The farming practices were sustainable. It was just a matter of paperwork, right, which the old school ways of my parents, mostly father, were not really into that side of it. But they were super supportive of becoming sustainable and believed in it all. It was just a matter of bandwidth. And one other thing about this property is that we were both California Wine Institute as well as Fish Friendly Farming, but we are also climate adaptation certified as well. Oh. So it's another step in the right direction to continue farming for generations to come.
Excellent. Way to go. And at some point, you were the one who spearheaded the winemaking aspect, too.
Spearheaded the creation of the brand. It was always a goal of our families, but with me coming back to the family business, this was kind of my baby that I brought up.
Is it because that, like a lot of wine-growing families, you're seeing other people make money with your grapes? And wasn't there a point where just like, why don't we make money from our grapes as well, in the wine category?
Well, I don't know if we've made any money yet. That's for sure.
It takes a little time.
Yeah, definitely takes time. We are still newer to the wine side of things, but our true goal was to show what kind of wines could come from this piece of ground and what kind of wines could come from Sonoma Valley, kind of putting two stakes in the ground and just being able to show the kind of wine that we like to drink. And that's what we're putting in these bottles.
And you have two brothers, but your brother Buck is the one helping you with the winemaking process?
Yes, so two brothers. My oldest brother is more into construction, and then my middle brother and I do farming with my dad, obviously is very much so still involved. But as far as the wine label side of things, I would say it's mostly my dad and I with assistance from both of them as well.
I like how you're naming the wines to honor your family and the previous owners. Tell me about that.
Yes, so we have a 2018 Watrous, which is named due to the Watrous family that owned the property before us. Fun little fact about Watrous, it's actually my grandfather's middle name as well as my nephew's middle name. So it's become a family name. And then our 2018 Buchanan is a Merlot. And then in 2019, actually this October 2022, we will be releasing our 2019 Marshall, which is a Cabernet. And that is named after my oldest brother John's middle name.
Is that 100% cab?
It is not. 75% cab. We always like to add a little bit of extra just to get that extra oomph.
Yeah. And tell me about this estate-grown signature that you're teasing us about on your website.
Yes, so that wine is our goal. That is our higher-end wine that we are really excited about. It is not in barrel yet. Well, 2022 is a really good year, so potentially we'll get it out of 2022, but that is going to be our top tier wine, very limited production that we are extremely excited about.
Can I just tell you, as a person who has consumed and tasted a lot of really good wine, that what you're serving now to me today is high-end wine as far as the taste goes. I mean, these are beautiful wines, and I can't imagine you going any further with that.
Well, just wait for the 2019 Marshall. It will really surprise you. So we are excited. We're going in the right direction, and that's really what we can say about what we're doing, is we're always trying to get better and build off of what we have.
You touched upon it earlier. So blueberries has also been a Serras family business, huh?
Yes, we planted, my parents planted our first berries in 2001 up at our property in Mendocino County.
And Duke blueberries. And I saw the photo where you compare your blueberries, how much larger they are than a quarter. And then those are good-sized berries.
They are. They're quite large, but they don't lack in flavor. And so it's been a fun project. I would say for a while there, we were more known for our blueberries than we were for our wine grapes, but that's okay.
So what does the winemaking family do when they have blueberries the size of large grapes? They make Bleusé grape and blueberry bubbly wine.
Yep. It's a fun little project that we are in our third vintage of grape and blueberry carbonated wine. The wine grape that we use is Aleatico, and a fun little fact about that varietal is we are the only grower in District 3. So it's been a fun pairing of our blueberries as well as wine grapes, bridging the two commodities.
It might sound really windy on this interview, but here, sitting in the midst of your vineyard, it's very comfortable and it's a beautiful day.
We definitely got lucky with the weather. It's been fall in Sonoma Valley is the best time to come.
Aside from Mother Nature saying hello with the wind.
She always wins, no matter what the situation is.
So yeah, Aleatico grapes, you don't hear that very often.
It's an Italian varietal that is known for either producing a very light rosé style wine or a super heavy dessert wine. So 2 extremes. We added the blueberries. It's, in my opinion, it's the best tasting wine grape, most comparable to like a table grape because of the flavors. When it's time to pick the grapes, we don't base it off of bricks. What we do is it's just about this explosion of floral notes in your mouth and in your nose and everything. And so that's a fun little fact about that as well.
Bricks being the sugar content.
Correct, yes.
I have to ask you one question, and if it's not too embarrassing, and you don't have to answer, but have you ever had to wear one of those blueberry costumes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every year. Every year we wear the blueberry costumes. Well, I guess every year there's a parade for the Sonoma Valley 4th of July parade, handing out blueberries and blueberry stress balls and all the fun stuff.
And wearing blueberry costumes.
And wearing blueberry costume. Those things are hot, let me tell you. Let me tell you.
Not as in you look hot in that costume.
No, definitely not. Most unflattering thing I've ever worn, but hot in temperature.
There's a photo on your website if people want to take a look at it.
Yes. Pretty embarrassing.
And you also make blueberry jam, blueberry sauce, blueberry jalapeno.
Yep. We try to branch out and not stay in one avenue, if you can tell by all the different products that we like to produce.
And how fortunate for you, your family as growers, that in Laytonville in Mendocino County, where you grow the blueberries, there are no pests. So you don't have to have any kind of sprays or pesticides.
Yes, and I think that is also because we are the only grower of blueberries for many hundreds of miles. The closest ones are up in Oregon. And so while we don't have any insect pests, we do have pests such as bears and deer and birds. But that's okay.
Boy, with everything we've talked about and your wellness spa, it's like, what else more could you do to stay busy? Other than the fact that maybe you planned a big wedding recently and got married.
That I did. About a month and a half we've been married and going on our honeymoon after grape harvest, so we're excited.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. What an impressive family you belong to. It's nice to meet you and learn more about the Serras family.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out. We hope you enjoyed your time out here, and if anyone ever has interest in coming out and visiting the ranch, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, tell people how they can come out here and see this beautiful property and experience a wine tasting.
Yes, so you can go to our website at serrasranchwine.com and you can request a tour. And then one thing about our tours is that whenever you come out, you will always meet a family member. So time is limited just due to all the different opportunities that we have going on. But we do our best to get you in when you request it.
And you'll sit next to the pond and here in the Cabernet vineyard, and it's a beautiful ride.
Yes, it's definitely something that we like to do, and we like to just show, what we do on a daily basis. Obviously, a little bit different use of transportation.
Think you'll enjoy experiencing. Look up serrasranch.com. That's SERRES ranch.com. for their full-flavored wine and enjoyable vineyard ranch tour. Thanks to Taylor for hosting me for a fun couple of hours. You can find more interviews and wine trivia at onthewineroad.com and .us. I'm on Facebook /onthewineroad, and I'm on Instagram as JD Wine Road. If you like the podcast, please rate it and pass it on to your friends. The podcast theme was written by Miguel de Oliveira, and the program is researched, written, and produced by me. And I appreciate you listening. I'll catch you next time on The Wine Road. I'm Jeff Davis.